Well, Tiger's suspension has actually provided a much-needed fillip for its battered rivals, Qantas and Virgin Blue, but the major carriers still have plenty of problems of their own. I spoke to Qantas's Chief Executive, Alan Joyce, on Friday. Well, Alan Joyce, how much of Tiger's volume have you been picking up?
Well, Alan, it's interesting. In this week, I think Tiger have said that they were going to be carrying 35,000 passengers. The Qantas group, both Qantas and Jetstar, is picking up around 10,000 of that volume. We're seeing a lot of the traffic actually not travelling, which I suppose shows how price sensitive this end of the market is.
Tiger has about 5% of the market. Now, if they didn't survive, would you expect that Jetstar would pick up all of that capacity?
What we're seeing is that our plans going forward wouldn't change much between Tiger operating and not operating.
So do you think they'll survive?
I think our plans are that they will still be there and they'll still be operating.
Well, you're assuming in your planning that they'll be around, but do you really think so?
Yes, I think, from a Singapore Airlines point of view, certainly they're getting involved in getting Tiger back into the air. I think I can't see an alternative for Tiger redeploying a lot of the aircraft into Asia at this stage. I think there's a big issue in Tiger's business model being successful if it only has Singapore as a base. They need to show that they can make it work in multiple areas. I think their success in Australia has been non-existent to date, and I think they need to get the business back into operation here for them to be perceived as a pan-Asian brand.
Had a bit of a setback, wouldn't you say?
I think, from a brand perspective, this is going to obviously have a significant impact on them. How they handle this and how they manage this, I think, is going to be critical. We're all crisis management. How you handle these issues, I think, are extremely important.
Well, Tiger claims to have brought down fares in the Australian market. Has your pricing improved since they've been suspended?
Well, I think the impact of Tiger has been overstated. This has been a very competitive market in the Australian market for some time. We have very strong competition between Virgin Australia and Jetstar in the leisure end of the market. We have Qantas on leisure markets, on the big volume markets, having fairly extensive airfares out there to be competitive. So Tiger operates on 5% of the domestic market. Its impact on low airfares is overstated.
Yes, but you didn't answer the question. Has your pricing improved since Tiger was suspended?
Well, we have not been increasing prices as a consequence of Tiger's grounding. In fact, both Jetstar and Qantas have made fares available to disrupted Tiger passengers to allow them to travel at very discounted rates.
OK, can I ask another way? Have your yields improved?
The yields won't have improved because what we're doing in the short term is making these fares available to the travelling public so that people that are displaced by Tiger grounding can travel at discounted airfares. That's something that we have done in other situations in the past, and that's something we're doing now.
In your trading update on June the 22nd, you said Qantas International would lose $200 million and more next year. And as I understand it, the Los Angeles and London routes are both losing money, and they used to be your most profitable. Are any of your international routes actually making any money?
Yeah, the international has routes that's making money, and obviously for commercial reasons, I'm not going to go into the details of which routes are loss-making and which are profit-making. Needless to say that we do have an issue on international. The issue has been there for some time. The international business has not been performing at the levels it needs to. And over the years, we've compensated by that by having a very strong domestic business, having a very strong frequent flyer business. By the creation of Jetstar, we've created a new business, and all of these businesses have helped subsidise the international operations. However, we don't believe that situation is sustainable going forward, and we need to make significant changes to our international services as a consequence to the underperformance of the business today.
So are you going to be the CEO that turns Qantas into a domestic-only airline?
No, Qantas will always be an international and domestic airline. We like Qantas to grow significantly international. And I have to say, Alan, you know, people 10 years ago were saying that Qantas would not be a domestic airline any longer. They were saying with the advent of the new low-cost carriers coming into the Australian domestic market that Qantas domestically was a dinosaur. We didn't listen to those people back then. We put a huge amount of effort in creating a very strong strategic platform for us in the domestic market with the creation of Jetstar. And 10 years later, the most profitable carrier operating in the domestic market is now Qantas, because we turned it around. And Jetstar, the second most profitable carrier operating. We will do the same with our international business.
Okay, so how are you going to turn it around?
There's four pillars to the strategy that we're going to announce on the 24th of August. First of all, we're going to talk about the investment that we're going to make into the product to make sure that Qantas remains one of the top premium airlines in the world. Secondly, it's looking at our partnerships. Thirdly, it's casting an honest and very aggressive view on the performance of the international network and making cuts where we need to make them, and it's important for us to do that. And then lastly, it's looking in particular at the Asian market and seeing how we can participate in the fastest growing aviation market in the world.
But isn't there a fundamental tension between cutting costs on the one hand and investing in what's essentially a premium airline on the other?
I think they go together because it's reducing costs in areas where their efficiencies can be achieved, but using that capital to invest back into the premium product. You know, we in the last 2 years spent $75 million on new lounges. We've spent over $100 million on our new automated check-in system. Both of them are a significant improvement in customer satisfactions. But at the same time, you know, we're investing in new technology like new aircraft, like the A380 and the 787s, which are hugely efficient aircraft, don't need the level of maintenance that older aircraft would have needed, have a huge amount of automation associated with them from an engineering point of view, and they give us the type of savings and efficiencies that we need as an organisation to be able to compete on a world scale. So they go hand in hand, new aircraft, new efficiencies, and better customer service for our core customers.
And do you have to pay the pilots less?
Well, it's not about paying the pilots less. What we're working on is making sure that we have sensible wage settlements with all of our employees. And unfortunately, you know, after over 25 discussions with some of these unions, we've had still some very outrageous demands on the table. And given the challenges that our international business actually has, we don't believe that it's appropriate, that's correct, and that actually helps us turning this business around. And that's why we haven't been able to reach agreement with some of these unions. And some of these unions are actually asking for a veto on change. It's back to the old-fashioned way that the unions used to be run in Australia. It's back to making sure that change doesn't happen in business.
Well, one pilot told me that he and his colleagues have been asked to run down their holidays to the minimum of 2 weeks, which makes them, and me for that matter, think that there's redundancies coming up, are there?
Well, just to put that in context, Alan, the reason why the pilots have been running down the annual leave is that during the global financial crisis, when we had to scale back significantly as a business internationally, as every airline around the world had to do, we didn't make any pilots redundant. We did that by asking people to take annual leave. We have had a surplus of pilots for some time, and we've managed that with the big leave balance that are there.
But are you getting to the point where you can't avoid redundancies anymore?
But I think what we have to do is go through this review and wait till the 24th of August, and then we'll be very clear on what the implications of that review are, and then we can bring certainty to the market, to our employees, to our customers about what Qantas is going to do into the future, and we need to wait until the 24th of August to see that.
Well, thanks for joining us, Alan Joyce.
Thanks very much, Alan. Thank you for your time.